day 10 of your STAAR review, and in this video we will be discussing similar figures. So going ahead and looking at this foldable, you should have already pasted it in. But here it says you will need 5 different colors: pens, markers, crayons, or matte pencils. And the colors will be corresponding with the same color. So that being said, we're going to go ahead and just open this up. And again, what are similar figures? So similar figures are the same shape, but a different size. That's all it means. So basically, we're going to look at similar figures, and we're going to look at the different sides, and we can set up a proportion to figure out the lengths of missing sides. So that being said, let's go ahead and get into similar figures. So you're going to be opening page 1, and we're going to be looking at the first question. So opening this up, it says Marta wanted to find the height of a tree by placing the stake in the ground to make a shadow, which could then be compared to the length of the tree shadow. Which of these proportions could Marta use to determine the height of the tree in feet, which is h? So here we're going to go ahead and set up a box and tail. So setting up these box and tails, we're going to have a big tree and we have a small tree. Then we're going to have the height of our tree and the base of our tree. So setting this up, my height will be red, I guess, whatever color you want to use. So here I have the height. So the height of my big tree is what we're solving for. So that is x. Then the height of my small tree, or the small stake, is 5 feet. So the small height is 5. Then switching to another color, the shadow of the tree is 29 feet. So here I have the big base as 29. And then the small base is going to be 8.5. Now, just like a box and tail, if we were to solve this, each of them need to be diagonal from each other. So looking at my answer choices, I should have x diagonal to 8.5, and I should have 5 diagonal to 29. So looking here at F, I do not have 8.5 diagonal from 29. Okay, I have 8.5 and 29 on top of each other. So that's not the correct proportion. Then for G, I have 8.5 diagonal to 5. Again, they are next to each other. They are not diagonal from each other. So that's not correct either. Then looking at H, I have H diagonal to 5. They are on top of each other. X should be diagonal from 8 to 8.5. So that is incorrect as well. Then lastly, we have H. I have 29 diagonal to 5. I have 29 diagonal to 5 on top of each other. When I have these on top of each other, I should have 8.5 and x diagonal to each other, and I do here. So here, J is the correct proportion. So now looking at your foldable, this is everything you should have written down to number 1. And I would just like to suggest to you to go ahead and go back and write that similar figures are the same shape but a different size. So again, we can use box and tails to set up our proportions. That way it will allow us to see which numbers are diagonal from each other. So again, that's number 1. Now we're going to go ahead and look at number 2. So for number 2, it says figure 1 and 2 are similar quadrilaterals measured up in units. Which proportion is true? Now we're going to go ahead and start off by color coding this. So starting off here on this side, I have 4.2. Now I want to go over to the other, to figure 2, and I want to highlight the same side. So here I have 4.2. It is connected at this angle. So right here, this is its corresponding side. Now here I'm going to write figure 1 over figure 2. We're going to set up a proportion. So for figure 1, we had 4.2, and for figure 2, we had 2.52. Now this is equal to our next side. So I'm just going to go around. So here we have 7.3. So 7.3, it's corresponding side. And again, corresponding means it is the same position on a different shape. So its corresponding side will be right here at 4.38. And just take note, corresponding same position, in a different shape. And then this is equal to our next side, 5, which is corresponding with W. And then this is equal to V, which is corresponding to 6 in figure 2. So now whenever we are looking to see which proportion is true, again, we have to make sure they are diagonal from each other. So for A, we have V diagonal to 4.38. So here I would have V diagonal to 4.38, which is true, if you see this. So whenever those are diagonal to each other, I should have 7.3 and 6 diagonal to each other. That is not what I have here, therefore A cannot be my answer. And then looking at B, I have V diagonal to 2.52. Whenever I do have V diagonal to 2.52, and when I have that, I should have 4.2 diagonal to 6, which I do. So here, this statement is true. I need to check the rest of my answers. So for C, I have 6 diagonal to 7.3, which is true. If you see here, I have 7.3. It is diagonal to 6. Whenever they are diagonal, I should have 4.38 diagonal to V, and that is not what I have here, so therefore that cannot be my answer. Then I have D. It is diagonal to, I have V diagonal to 2.25, which I do. Whenever they are diagonal to each other, I should have 4.2 and 6 diagonal to each other, which I do not. So again here, B is our answer. So now looking at your foldable, this is everything you should have written down for number 2. And then lastly, we're going to go ahead and turn our page, and we're going to look at number 3. So for number 3, it says figure 1 and figure 2 are similar hexagons measured in units. Which proportion is not true? So we need to start off by color coding our sides. So here we're going to go ahead and start off with number 1 on the very left, and here its corresponding side. If you notice, this side is flipped upside down. So if I were to turn this side, 0.5 would be its corresponding side. So here I'm going to write figure 1 over figure 2. Now for this one, I'm going to show you, we're going to set up our proportion, but I'm going to show you a different way on how to solve this. So for figure 1, I have 1, and on figure 2, I have 0.5. Now if I keep going, I now have M. So looking at M, so figure 1 equals M, and I'm dividing this by 1.05. And this is equal to my next side, which is 2.5. And I'm dividing that by 1.25. Or its corresponding side in figure 2 would be 1.25. Then our next side, we have 1.4, and its corresponding side will be 0.7. This is equal to our next side, which is 0.75 for figure 2, and that corresponds to 1.5 in figure 1. And then this is equal to our last side, which is 5 in figure 1, and its corresponding side in figure 2 would be N. So here we're going to solve this a bit differently. If you don't like the other way, here's going to be another way. So for here, M I have as pink, and 1.05 I have as pink. And again, our proportion is asking us for which one is not true. I'm going to color code this. So for 1.4 we have blue, and 0.7 we have blue. So here, this checks out. This one is true. Then for G, I have 5 is orange, N is orange. I have 1 as red, 0.5 as red. So here, this one is true, and that cannot be my answer, because again, I'm looking for the one that is not true. Then for H, we have 1, which is red, and I have 0.75, which is green. Then I have M, which is pink, and 1.05, which is pink. So here, our this proportion is false. So here, this is the one that is not true, but let's still check J. So for J, I have 1.5, and I have 0.75. And this is equal to 5, which is orange, over n, which is orange. So here, this statement is true, therefore that one is not my answer. And again, H is my answer. Now going ahead and looking at your foldable. This is everything you should have written down for number 3. And again, that was similar figures. So you can either do it color coding your colors, or you can always write out your proportionality ratio, and you can see and check which ones are diagonal to each other. It's completely up to you on which one you prefer. But again, that was similar figures, and again, similar figures are the same shape but a different size. That being said, go ahead and make sure you've watched the other video and complete your assignment for the day.